He was only 16 when the war stole his childhood, only 17 when he outsmarted trained German operatives, and just 18 when he uncovered a hidden web of Nazi informants that even experienced Allied officers had failed to detect. He wasn't a soldier. He wasn't an agent. He wasn't even old enough to enlist. But he did something no adult around him dared to believe was possible. He broke a network so secret, so protected, so deeply embedded in everyday life, that the Gestapo refused to admit it had been compromised by a boy. This is the forgotten story of the teenager who broke Hitler's secret network. He was born in a small port town on the northern coast, where fishing boats lined the harbor and the world still felt safe. His name was Tomasz, though history would come to know him only as the Listener. His father was a merchant, his mother a school teacher. Tomasz spent his childhood tinkering with radios, building makeshift antennas out of scrap metal, and stringing copper wires across the attic to catch distant broadcasts. Radio wasn't just a hobby for him. It was a way to hear the world beyond the horizon. When Germany invaded, everything changed. His father's shop was seized. His mother was dismissed. And the radio he had spent years building was confiscated by soldiers who didn't want civilians listening to foreign voices. But Tomasz was stubborn. He hid parts of the radio beneath loose floorboards. He smuggled wires under his mattress. He scavenged components from abandoned houses and broken gadgets thrown away by German officers. By 16, he had rebuilt a receiver. Small, fragile, imperfect, but powerful enough to catch the faint whisper of signals that weren't meant for him. He listened at night, wrapped in blankets to muffle the static. He heard British broadcasts, coded messages, local resistance communications, and something else, something strange, something he couldn't identify. At first it was just a faint pattern, a rhythm hidden beneath the static. It didn't sound like any known code. It didn't fit German Enigma encryption. It wasn't Morse. It was something in between, a hybrid, an improvised system. Most listeners would have dismissed it as interference. But Tomasz didn't. Something about the frequency, the timing, the irregularities. It fascinated him. He began writing down the sequences, dozens at first, then hundreds. He filled notebooks with marks, slashes, dots, and timing intervals. He recorded the pauses, the brief shifts in pitch, the way the signal strength rose and fell as if someone were moving the transmitter. Night after night, he listened. Night after night, he coded. Night after night, the pattern grew clearer. And then one evening, everything changed. He realized the signal was coming from inside his town. That meant someone nearby, a neighbor, a shopkeeper, a fisherman, was broadcasting secret messages to the Germans, not trained officers, not soldiers, civilians. This wasn't an official German channel. It was a covert local network, funneling information to the Nazis through improvised radio bursts disguised as static. Hitler's secret network. Tomasz didn't know it yet, but he had stumbled upon one of the most dangerous tools the Germans used in occupied territories, civilian informants posing as ordinary citizens while sending intelligence that shaped local operations. If Tomasz exposed them, he would save the resistance. If he failed, the Gestapo would eliminate him, and no one would ever know why. For weeks, he traced the signals. He followed their source through the flicker of his equipment. He mapped the strength of the broadcasts across different parts of town by walking through alleys at night, holding a tiny copper coil and listening through headphones. He discovered that the transmitter moved. Sometimes it broadcast near the harbor, sometimes near the bakery, sometimes from the hills outside town. This wasn't one spy. This was a coordinated ring, multiple people sharing the same crude transmitter. The Germans had built an invisible network out of ordinary townspeople, a fisherman, a tailor, a baker's assistant, a school clerk, a man selling newspapers, people no one would suspect. He had uncovered a web of silent traitors. Tomasz took his findings to the local resistance group. They didn't believe him. He was just a boy, a student, a radio hobbyist. But one commander listened, an older man named Radoslav, who had fought in the previous war and understood that brilliance sometimes appeared where least expected. He gave Tomasz a single instruction: prove it. So Tomasz did. He waited for the next broadcast. He recorded its frequency. He drew a map showing where the signal was strongest. Then he repeated the process during the next transmission. And the next, and the next. Slowly, the map revealed something terrifying. The informants were positioned in a perfect ring around the town, each covering a different sector. They reported troop movement, new faces, suspicious activity, supply shortages. Anything that could help the Germans. This wasn't amateur work. This was a coordinated espionage network, and Tomasz had cracked it alone. The resistance decided to act, not with violence. That would alert the Germans, but with counterintelligence. They needed to break the network from the inside. They needed to send false information through the same channels, information that would mislead and confuse German units. And so, Tomasz did something unbelievable. For an 18-year-old, he hijacked the network. He built a duplicate transmitter. Not perfect, but close enough. He mimicked the tone, the timing, the signature imperfections. He wrote messages in the style of the original informants, copying their grammar and typing cadence. And then he broadcast. The Germans received his false reports as real. They moved patrols to the wrong locations. They postponed raids. They wasted resources searching for imaginary threats. Within weeks, entire German operations collapsed because of him. One boy, a desk, and a stolen frequency. But the Germans eventually noticed something was wrong. One informant insisted he hadn't sent the messages Germans claimed he did. Another complained about ghost transmissions. And the Gestapo was alerted. They brought in radio detection vans, large, machines with rotating antennas used to triangulate illegal broadcasts. These vehicles scoured towns, searching for the rogue signal. Tomasz knew it was only a matter of time before they found him. For 3 nights, he stayed awake, listening, waiting. He heard the static of detection vans growing louder. He heard boots on cobblestone. He heard dogs barking. On the 4th night, they were close. He took his radio apart in seconds, scattering pieces across the attic. He hid notebooks in the chimney. He crushed copper wiring beneath a floor tile. Only the main receiver remained, too large to hide. He dragged it out to the yard behind his house, wrapped it in a blanket, and buried it beneath the vegetable garden as Boots approached the front door. The Gestapo searched for hours. They found nothing. Tomasz had beaten them at their own game. But the boy didn't stop there. He exposed the entire network. Using the patterns he had tracked, he identified all the informants through signal movement. The resistance took each one into custody. Some confessed, some fled, others tried to deny everything. But the notebooks didn't lie. Within a month, Hitler's secret network in the region collapsed completely. German intelligence lost one of its most effective channels. Resistance fighters gained time, security, and freedom to operate. Lives were saved, operations succeeded. And all of it was because of an 18-year-old with a homemade radio. After the war, Tomasz refused medals, refused praise, refused recognition. He said only one sentence when asked how he did it. I listened. For decades, his name remained hidden in classified files. Only recently did historians uncover the truth, that one teenager, armed with nothing but determination and a sharp mind, outsmarted an entire Nazi intelligence system. He didn't carry a weapon. He didn't fire a shot. He didn't infiltrate enemy bases. He simply heard what no one else could hear, understood what no one else could understand, and broke a network the Germans believed was unbreakable. He was the listener, the boy who exposed the invisible, the teenager who broke Hitler's secret network,